Hi, I'm Eric Siegel, and welcome to episode 78 of Eric's Trains. Alright, so it is early November 2019, and it's a gorgeous fall day here in Atlanta. And once again, I'm on my way over to Legacy Station in Lilburn, Georgia to pick up a couple trains that I think came in. We'll see what's there when we get there. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, I had the open house in October, on October 19th, and it was great. The weather wasn't very good. It was raining all day, but we had a good turnout nonetheless. There were about 225 people that showed up. A little lower than previous years, but that's expected because of all the rain. But considering the nasty weather, everything turned out great. We had a lot of fun, ran some cool trains. I posted a list of the trains that I ran on my Facebook page, so you can check that out if you want to. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. While we're on the way to the train store, I actually wanted to talk about the open house process, because, you know, a lot of people are always asking, you know, hey, can you do more than one open house per year? And my answer is no. I tried it one year. We did 2 open houses one year, a few weeks apart, and it was just too much. It took so much out of me, and it was so exhausting. I couldn't do that again. So now I just have one a year. And the reason it's exhausting, it takes a lot out of you, is because so much preparation goes into having an open house. You know, people really don't understand, I think, what goes into having an open house. It's not just letting people in to see your layout. There's a whole preparation that goes behind it. So I wanted to sort of talk about what it takes to have an open house, and I think a lot of you will be surprised at the amount of preparation that goes into having that event. So it really starts a couple months before the open house. I start to think of, okay, what can I do on the layout so that there's something different for people who have been here before. So when I have repeat visitors, when they come back, they see something different. And so I'll say, well, is there some scenery I can finish up, or maybe add a building or two and stuff like that? So I kind of start working towards that. If I want to get a building, I order the building or build the building or have it built. This year, I was lucky enough to get some samples from Menards, and so I put those on the layout. I had the dog food factory and the power plant. So had some new buildings. I also put some new trees in and so forth, just so there would be a little bit of something new for those people who come back, because each year when I have the open house, a lot of the visitors are repeat visitors that come back year after year. And some of those visitors come from quite a distance. And so I really want to make sure that they see something different and see some change and some updates to the layout. So that starts a couple months beforehand. Then the real hard work starts probably about a week or two before the open house. So a lot of the work is actually not on the layout itself. It's the house. But I'll talk about that in a minute. With the layout itself, you know, first it starts by getting the layout cleaned up. So I try to finish up all the projects I'm working on. Some of those I finished the night before the open house. And then start cleaning up the layout. I clean the track and then start cleaning the layout with a combination of brushes and air duster and actually vacuum. I do vacuum the layout. I get a little hand vac out or my bigger vacuum, and I vacuum the layout to get all the dust and so forth up. Then I go through and get all the cobwebs and spiders off, because the little spiders love to make webs all over the layout, and so you have to go through and get all those knocked down. And if you see the spider, you know, I'll kill it. Usually you don't find the spider, you just knock down the webs. I also have to knock down webs that are up on the light fixtures. That's a whole process as well. So it takes a while to get all the spider webs down. And some years it's better than others. You know, I've had years where there weren't a ton of spider webs, and then I've had years where they were just all over the place for some reason. This year was, I guess, probably pretty moderate to heavy. So you go through, get all that done, get all the dust off everywhere, clean the track. Then I have to clean the layout room. You know, I vacuum the floor, and then I go on all the train shelves, the display shelves, and clean off the trains, because they get covered in dust and cobwebs throughout the year. So I go through and get rid of all the cobwebs and dust on all the trains using an air duster and a brush. one thing that really annoys me when I go to see someone else's layout is when it's a dirty layout, when you see dust and cobwebs. That just really irritates me, and I've never wanted my layout to be like that. Now, it's unavoidable. You're going to have some dust and some cobwebs, but I try to keep it to a minimum, keep it clean so that when people visit the layout, it looks really nice. It looks its best. Oh, and speaking of trains on display, you know, every year it seems I have to either build or order a new display case or display shelf or shelves. And that's because during the year I accumulate more trains, and as the open house approaches, I can't have them all on the layout. I got to put them somewhere. I want to have them on display so people can see them, and so I have to get some more display cases or display shelves. So this year I actually built a new wooden display case because it was a case that was going to be down low with plexiglass on it. So I built one to sit alongside and match one that I built last year. So I did that about 4 days before the open house, so that was a rush job, but I got it done in time, and I actually got the plexiglass as well, and it looks great, and I was able to put some engines on the shelves of the display case and get them off the layout just in time for the open house. Now, a lot of people have asked me over the years if I would consider selling display cases, you know, making them and selling them, as sort of a side business. And I've thought about it, but right now it's not something that I want to do. And the main reason is because, you know, they look okay and they function fine, but I'm not a carpenter and I'm not a structural engineer, and so I don't really feel comfortable selling these things to people because they work fine. I've never had a problem with them, but you know, I wouldn't want to sell them to somebody and then have them fall off the wall or collapse or something like that, and then someone gets mad at me and holds me responsible for their damaged trains. You know, people who have been watching my channel for a while, you know that I have a story about a shelf collapsing years ago and some of my engines were damaged. I didn't build that shelf. That was a pre-made shelf and it collapsed, and that's when I started building my own. And my own shelves have been fine. They haven't collapsed or had any problems, but again, it's just sort of a liability thing because I am not an expert carpenter and I'm not an engineer, and so while I'm comfortable building these and putting my trains on them, I'm not sure that I want to take the responsibility of other people's trains being on them. I know that may sound silly, but that's kind of the way I feel right now, but you know, that may change in the future and I may decide to make them. And the other reason I don't want to make them and sell them is because, you know, I'd probably be ripped apart by every competent carpenter out there, and they'd probably say, you're doing it all wrong, and I probably am doing it wrong, but they work for me. They're functional. They're not the best looking things in the world. They look fine from about 5 or 10 feet away. When you get really close to them, you can see that they're not perfect, but they do work fine. But again, it all comes back to me not being a carpenter, not being an engineer, and I don't want to make a fool out of myself, and I don't want to be responsible for other people's trains potentially getting damaged if the shelf should fail for some reason. So once I've cleaned off the layout and the floor of the layout room and the trains on the display cases, then I have to actually start thinking about what trains am I going to run for the open house. And actually, this usually doesn't happen until right at the end. It's one of the last things I do, ironically. So I decide what train I want to run for the main train, and usually what I do is I go back and I look at previous years to see what I ran in previous years. And that way I don't repeat myself. And I decided I would run, for this year, I would run a combination of flat cars and high cube box cars. So the first thing I had to do was take off all of the current rolling stock from the layout, from the main train and the smaller trains. And that takes a while. You have to, you know, for each car, I clean it off, air dust it, brush it off, then I repackage it in the box and put it away. And you have to do that for probably 30 plus cars. And then once that's done, I have to start unboxing the trains I want to run. So I start pulling out all the flat cars and all the high cube box cars. And this year there was 30 something cars on the main train, so I pulled all those out. And once you get all those on the layout, make sure they're clean, make sure they're all working fine, then I think about what engines I want to run. And again, I look at previous year's videos so that I can hopefully run something fresh that people haven't seen, or at least haven't seen in a while. So for the main train, it's usually a bunch of diesels, and then for the top level, it's usually steam. And then I choose what I want to run on the top level and so forth. So after I've done that, I've got all the stuff on the layout and ready to run. Well, then the layout is pretty much done, and I can kind of relax there. But that whole process takes a good solid week. And then there's the house part of it. And there's a lot of preparation that goes into the house. And the food, because I like to feed my guests, I like to have snacks. And there's so much work that goes into that. It's actually more work than the layout itself. So first I have to clean my house. This year I actually bought a new living room set right before the open house. The day before the open house, the furniture guy showed up and delivered my new living room set. And I did that because my old couch was just in pieces. My cats had destroyed it, and it was just an eyesore. And a few days before the open house, I looked at it and I said, I can't have people see this couch. And so I figured it was finally time to get a new couch. I had that couch for about 10 years or so, and I knew the cats would destroy it when I got it. And so I got rid of it, went to the furniture store and picked out a new set, had them delivered on Friday. So I had to get the house cleaned up, get the living room cleaned up, scrub all the floors and get ready for the new living room set. And then when the new living room set arrived, I had to get all that set up, get all the lamps set up and so forth. So that was a lot of work. Then, you do a little work on the outside of the house, maybe put some flowers outside the door. And then I start setting up all of the tables for the guests. You have to have a table for the guest list and the registration. Then I had a table with some Halloween candy on it because the open house was during October. Then I set up tables for the food. And there's, I think, 2 tables that I set up for the food and drinks. And I set it up in such a way that it blocks access to the stairs going up to the upstairs of my house, because I don't want visitors going up there. I also block access to my dining room, so I try to kind of corral the guests and keep them in a certain area: the living room, partially the kitchen, and of course the layout room. So then I put tablecloths on the tables, and then I have to worry about the food and the drink. And so that's handled a couple days before the open house. I went to Sam's Club and I got a whole bunch of cases of soda and plastic silverware and bowls and cups and so forth. Got some coffee and some creamer. Then I went to Kroger and got a few other minor things as well. Then I ordered the main course, which was Chick-fil-A this year. We did Chick-fil-A last year. I did Chick-fil-A again this year. So I ordered 3 trays. I ordered two trays of nuggets, 2 large trays of Chick-fil-A nuggets, and 1 tray of Chick-fil-A breakfast minis. So then you set up the tables with the coffee maker and the coffee supplies, the straws and the cream and the sugar and so forth, bowls of chips, some cookies. I got some bunch of Oreos at Sam's Club, and then of course the drinks and the waters and so forth. The morning of the open house, before the open house starts, I have to go out and put all the signs in the neighborhood letting people know where the open house is at. Then after that, I go to Chick-fil-A and I pick up the trays of nuggets and minis. And then on the way back, I go to the gas station and pick up a couple bags of ice. And then when I get back, set up the nuggets, dump the ice in a big cooler, put it next to the drinks, and open up all the sauces for the nuggets and so forth. And at that point, the upstairs is pretty much ready. I got to make sure I have someone to man the upstairs to, greet guests and so forth. And this year I was lucky enough to have my uncle come up, and he sat at the door and made sure people signed the guest list and stuff like that. And then finally, once that's all done, about 15 minutes before the open house starts, I will go down to the basement and power everything up and start running the trains. And then I stay down there for about the next 8 hours and run trains and talk to people and shake hands and so forth. And so by the end of the day, when I've had the open house, I am exhausted, because it's been about a week or 2 of just solid nonstop running around trying to get things ready. It's a lot of fun. It's a ton of fun. I love having the open house every year. I love that people want to come see the layout. I love interacting with people that come see the layout as much as I can, because I'm busy talking to so many people. But it's exhausting, and so that's why I only have one per year, because there is so much work that goes into it. Anyway, so I just wanted to go over that. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too boring. Oh, you may notice that between the last episode and this episode, I lost the beard. That was part of a Halloween thing. I wanted to dress up as Chief Hopper from Stranger Things because a lot of people tell me I look like him for some reason. And so I decided to dress up as the season 3 version of Chief Hopper with the mustache and the Hawaiian shirt. So I grew the beard out, and then on Halloween morning I shaved it all off except for the beard, and I put on a Hawaiian shirt and jeans. And then later that night I also greeted trick-or-treaters at my door dressed as Chief Hopper. So that was a lot of fun, but now the beard's gone and just a little stubble. It'll grow back though. So anyway, I'm really in some heavy traffic right now, but we should be at Legacy Station in just a little bit. And when we get there, we'll go inside and see what has arrived. All right, we're in the back room at Legacy. And I've got 2 items that have come in. So right here is the Lionel Union Pacific Vision Aux water tank. Interesting. And then up here, there's one more item. This is pretty cool. This is the Lionel NNWJ 611 Spirit of Roanoke. And this is going to replace the 611 that I already had. I sold it to replace it with this because this one has the whistle steam smoke effect, unlike the previous version. So this is going to be cool. I'm going to try to get it on the track maybe, but it's really busy up front, so I don't know if I'll be able to. If not, you'll see it when I review it. There it is. All right, so here is the 611 Spirit of Roanoke. Brand new out of the box. I noticed they updated the crew talk a little bit. It sounds good.
Awaiting clearance. Over. Clear to proceed east from where you stand at track speed. Over. Clear east on signal indication.
Not bad. Great.
Alrighty, okay. Alrighty, so now you know where to go for your license. Okay.
Looks awesome.
We're marking off. Make a note for the hostler. The fuse E-box is running low. Out.
I like the new crew talk sounds. Those are cool. Here's a cool new diesel that I'm going to show you. Courtesy of another YouTube train guy.
Ravenhawk 6910. How's it going, guys?
Yep. And so this is the Amtrak ES44 from MTH with the flashing lights at the bottom. Pretty cool.
It's the same one as the hybrid ES44, same design. But it's the one with the new chrome body finish.
That's cool.
They've also got some ones in the new catalog that are going to have that as well. The DL109 is going to have this, and I think an SD40-2 as well.
That's cool. Very nice.
reporting on track 1, train number 3, the Amtrak Western Chief.
Looks great. Hopefully, maybe at some point I'll be able to review one of these. We'll see. I love these things. I've already got a few of them. I think I'll get one today. Maybe the Climax or the Hiawatha. I like the Hiawatha. She's cute. All right, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed that little trip to the train store. And don't worry if you didn't see enough of the 611 right then. I will be doing a full review on that model at some point in the near future. I've got several other videos that I'm actually working on right now. I'm doing my first review of an HO train ever. It's a Lionel Lion Chief HO set. It's very nice, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, I'm sure all of the HO fanatics are going to have a ball ripping me apart on my first HO review. That should be pretty interesting. But yeah, it's kind of fun to get out and try something different every now and then. And so I think I'll be branching out into some other scales and so forth, just every now and then, just to keep things a little fun. I'm also doing a review for the Lionel B&O President Washington 462 Pacific. That's almost done. That'll probably be the next video that comes out. And then I've got a couple other videos I'm working on as well. I'm doing a new Eric's Train Express on some Lionel collector's cards. I'm also working on some reviews for some more products from Menards. So there are lots of videos in the works right now. There should be plenty to watch as we roll into the holiday season. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time.